Let's talk religion and politics. You hear it said so many times, don't talk religion and politics. And some people, because of their own financial interest of playing it neutral, they refuse to take a stand either way. And that shows you, when you hear somebody say that, that is a lack of leadership. And that is someone during a time that a voice is needed, they will be silent. And that is why slavery lasted so long, and that is why women oppression lasted so long. You wonder why for hundreds of years there was slavery in America? You wonder why for hundreds of years women didn't have rights? It wasn't because there's always going to be extreme people. So there was a few extreme people that had control, and the majority of people in the middle, they just kept their mouth shut. They just kept their mouth shut. It doesn't mean one race is always right. It doesn't mean one race is always bad. It doesn't mean one religion is always right. It doesn't mean one religion is always bad. So I'm not saying take an extreme stand. But what I'm hearing is, I heard a guy say the other day is, growing up was great. Everybody knew their place. You know what that means? That guy was silent. He didn't stand up when he saw injustice, whether it was for a certain minority group or whether it was for a certain gender. So if you were a woman, screw you. Everybody knew their place. He don't care. Or if you were a minority, screw you. He was good. He didn't care. It's not to judge him, because it's very hard to speak up. And any of us, including myself, if there was pressure on us, we would be scared to speak up. Look at Peter, the example in the Bible. He loved Jesus, but when the Roman guards came, he kept his mouth shut. He didn't want any trouble. And it doesn't matter. This happens in all different countries with all different races and all different religions. So I'm not saying one race or one religion is bad. It's not the case. What I'm saying is oppression happens all over the world, all different scenarios. It happens when a few extreme people lead the conversation and the majority of people in the middle keep their mouth shut. And then there's another extreme group that has to form to combat the other extreme group and then try to sway the majority of people in the middle. Because people will keep their mouth shut until it affects them for the most part. And so I am not saying be contentious. And even though I'm deep in my faith, and even though I understand various perspectives, I try to state my case, but I also try to see things from other people's side. And I don't want to control anybody. Now, that being said, as a leader, as somebody who speaks up, you got to realize that no matter what you do, no matter how nice you are, no matter how fair you are, you're not going to please certain people. But if you are doing things where you are trying to be as fair and just as possible, then your voice is needed in the conversation. And you don't have an option to, I'm going to keep I'm not going to talk religion and politics. And a lot of people who say that, and I see channels and I see people, whether it's in the regular media or on YouTube or whatever, they say that because they have a financial interest in keeping everybody watching their channel. And they don't care. Some people say they hate pander. Those people pander. They don't. Now, I understand I don't want anyone to take a stand contentiously, because that's not wisdom and that's not a healthy conversation. But you got to understand, even cartoons, since the beginning of time, they are subconsciously picking a side, and they are sending a message. If you look through most cartoons and most things that you think are new, everybody's putting a message out there. And some people put a blatant message out there, some people put a subliminal message out there, and some people just take no stand. But either way, you're making a choice. And you should speak up when religion or politics are being discussed, because that is the job of a leader, and that is the job of a positive person who has something to add to the conversation. You can speak up in a way where you are being fair and just, and you're also listening to other people's perspective where you can learn something. But you do have an obligation, I want to be very clear, to engage in conversation, to engage in society, and to say, look, I agree with this or I disagree with this, and here's the reason why, and here's the key. Here's my solution to make things more just and more fair. Okay? But you don't have a right to say, I don't want to get involved. I'm too old. For the people that say they're too old, if we stop giving out Social Security, will you still say you don't want to get involved? Of course you would. Okay? And that's a society thing paid for by all races, all religions. I don't care if you're old, young, or in the middle. You have an obligation to engage society in a healthy manner. Not to say I don't care. Now, to be fair, the older people shouldn't have to carry a huge burden because they are older. The younger people are still trying to figure out life, so they should give the independence to form their own decisions. And the middle people will they have the most energy, they have the most, capacity. They will, take a bulk of it. But no matter what side you're on, from your perspective, from your capacity, you have an obligation to engage in an issue Doesn't matter whether it's about religion, politics, anything. You have an obligation to engage in a healthy manner, in a positive manner, and while listening to other perspectives, and then being willing to evolve your thought. Not from a stubborn standpoint, not from a malicious standpoint, and not from an eye for an eye standpoint. But you have to get involved, or else oppression one way or another, and I'm not talking about one specific culture, one specific race, or one specific religion, because I've seen crappy ones throughout them all. I've seen crappy people of all different races. I've seen crappy people from all different faiths, including my own. They're all over. You know what I mean? So it's not about one group's better than the other. It's about good people know that, and good people are just and fair. So if they can't say, hey, look, we have to take this, fairly, then who leads the conversation? The extremists. And then another extremist group will form, and then they'll both put pressure on the majority of people that are kind of like neutral to basically, once enough crap has happened, to make a decision. It should never get to that. And again, you're never going to make everyone happy. And if it's really not your thing to speak up, and that, I'm not saying get involved in every specific thing, but what I'm saying is you do have to get involved in a conversation. I'm sorry, you don't get a pass because you're old. You don't get a pass because you're young. You don't get a pass because you're from another generation. Okay? Because that's how bad stuff throughout history, in all different countries and all different cultures, it doesn't matter. That's how all bad stuff has happened, because people just zip it. Oh, I don't want to get involved. Not my place. Now, again, any of us, including me, if the shit really hit the fan, none of us know we would just keep our mouth shut. Again, Peter did in the Bible. He didn't want to get crucified like Jesus. So I don't want to speak arrogantly or proudly of this. But what I am bringing to light is that a person who says don't talk religion or politics is a follower, and they're somebody who's basically co-signing not engaging in society, and that's unhealthy for society. Now, certainly there are time and place for everything. In certain business aspects, etc., you need to be respectful that this is a business aspect. But even there, if you see an injustice, you have to speak up, okay? But again, there's a time and place for everything, and you'll have to use the Holy Spirit to discern that. Or if you're atheist, you'll have to use your best judgment, whatever is for you. Because again, somebody can believe in nothing. I don't care. I only care, do you treat people the right way? And are things as just and fair as possible, with the understanding we live in an unfair world at times. So I understand it's never going to be perfect. But I wanted to shed light on that, okay? I wanted to shed light on that. Because as a leader, as someone positive, you have to engage conversation. You have to add your perspective. Or else things will get unjust, oppressive, and unfair to others. Use wisdom in how to do it. Do it fairly and listen to others' perspective, because we all, including myself, may learn something and change our mind and grow. But I have to expose that. Because above all else, this isn't just, for me, a traveling channel. This isn't just, let me see how many subscribers I get. For me, for everything I do, is I want to make a positive impact, and I want to grow myself. See, that's the key thing. I'm not looking to just veg out towards life, and be a rock, hide under a rock. I'm not looking to do that. I want to grow, but I realize growth is painful, so sometimes people want to hide. I understand that too. I've been there. I'm going forward. That's my perspective on this, and that's what I want to share. Stay inspired.